This was me almost 10 years ago, figuratively speaking. I was searching desperately for something in a vast world of trading. I was trying to become profitable, and I started out in Forex trading. I had literally tried every indicator, every strategy. I tried smart money concepts, order blocks, liquidity gaps, Fibonacci, moving averages, literally all of it. And none of it worked for me for over a year. And for about a year and a half, it felt like I was in this hamster wheel. I kept struggling. I kept failing. I kept losing real money. That was a lot to me at the time. And I felt like I was just spinning around in circles. Back when I started, it was 2016. So I was working 2 jobs, one of them in security as a patrol officer, and the other one was at Target in loss prevention. I was working insane hours, like 85 hours a week. I barely saw my family. I didn't see my girlfriend very much, even though we lived together, and I didn't see any of my friends from college. And I just became obsessed with figuring out trading. What I wanted to do was either become successful and profitable at trading, or to be found dead on the side of the road that led to the top of that proverbial mountain of profitability. I completely structured my life around it. I sacrificed literally everything for it, and I even dropped out of college for it, even when it didn't make me a penny for almost 2 years. The problem I see today is that most people never make it because they just simply don't give enough credit to the process itself. I see a lot of people who don't even track their trades, they don't journal, they don't reflect on why trades worked or why they didn't. They just keep chasing strategies. It's called shiny object syndrome. They hop around from system to system, hoping and praying that the next one is going to be the Holy Grail. The thing that people miss the most about profitable trading is that it really is about just getting experience. It's about getting experience in a way in which you can let your intuition develop over time. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Simple things such as writing down why you entered a buy or a sell, what you expected to happen versus what actually happened after the trade completed. You have to keep it simple. You have to keep things consistent and predictable. And that's how you build the kind of intuition that actually lasts. Here's the key that I found. Intuition is what tells you when to cut a trade early because it's not working, and when to hold on to winning trades that are more likely to play out. It tells you when a trade is better to be taken versus when, even if it fits your criteria, it's not a trade that you should take. I had started trading just because I wanted freedom. And that's the freedom that trading gave me. It all started with keeping things simple and just putting in the reps over and over and over again, building on things in an iterative way without ever stopping. If you're in the position where you're just starting trading right now, and you've got some money saved, you've learned all the basics, here's a simple blueprint to start. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to keep things really simple. I want you to block out specific hours for trading just like you would for work. And you don't really need more than an hour a day if you're trading on the higher time frames. Then what I want you to do is I want you to focus on structuring risk. By keeping things simple and controlling risk, you're always going to have a way to predictably make consistent progress over time. And on top of that, you're never going to lose more than you can afford per trade. A lot of people start with 1% to 2% risk of their account per trade. I'm not going to tell you what the best is because there really is no best. I myself risk probably anywhere from 0.5% to 1% of my total trading capital per trade, so it's a relatively small amount. But as long as one single trade is not going to make or break you, you know that you're risking an appropriate amount. Then I want you to focus on simple support and resistance zones on the higher time frames. Nothing else. You don't need moving averages. You don't need Fibonacci. You don't need trend lines. You don't need all sorts of other things and indicators that so many people use. Just simple areas in the higher time frames where prices bounced really clearly in the past. Focus on support and resistance on the higher time frames. Nothing else. Set alerts at those zones. Wait for price to get to the zones. And then when price gets to one of those zones, simply enter a trade. If it's at a support zone, then buy. And if it's at a resistance zone, then sell. If you buy, put a stop below the zone, and if you sell, put a stop above the zone. And then after you set the stop loss, set your profit target at just a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio to start while you're learning. Everything is about simply making more money on your winners versus what you lose on your losers. So the idea will be that over time, you start to learn to close losing trades a little bit earlier, and you start to hold winning trades all the way to their profit target, and in some cases, even extending the profit target and letting the winning trades run even further. As you know, the hard truth is that most people do in fact lose money. Trading's risky. It's very, very difficult to do, and long term the stats are completely against you. But the interesting part about this is that it doesn't have to be that way. In my personal experience, I think trading is so hard for most people because they overcomplicate it. People do so many things that do not matter, and they do all these things at the cost of things that do matter. And if you have someone to guide you, and you focus on simplicity and risk management, things get a lot easier. They get a lot simpler. They get a lot more predictable. There's this concept that I learned about half a decade ago called Occam's razor, and it's very simple. It states that the simplest solution is usually the best one. And in trading, what that means is to keep things simple and control risk. That's all I do. I just trade support, resistance, and I control risk for every single trade. And it gets kind of crazy to say that it really is that simple. And so I pose this to you. Challenge yourself to actually try to do this. Try to actually force yourself to just do the bare minimum. Whenever you're looking at a daily chart on any currency pair or any crypto token or any stock asset, price is just going to go up or down. You don't have to have a full complex narrative of why you think price is going to go up or down to be able to trade profitably. You just have to be able to get into the market whenever you think it's going to go up or down and have a plan to get out if price goes against you, and have a plan to hold on to your winners if price starts going into your favor. I still remember my first year of trading. For my jobs working double 80 hours a week, I was making around $25,000 that year in 2016. But trading, when I did my taxes at the beginning of 2017, I found that I had lost over $8,300. And what's even crazier is I was only allowed to write off $3,000 of that on my taxes. I looked at those numbers on my tax return, and the thought crossed my mind. I could have quit, but for some reason, I didn't. There was nothing else that I wanted to do in my life. I didn't want to go back to college. I didn't want to go and be a police officer like I originally wanted. I didn't want to be an engineer or an attorney or a doctor or a nurse like my mom wanted me to do. I wanted to do trading. And so instead of quitting, I just kept pushing. I kept trying to build on what was working and do more of that, and try to do less of what wasn't working. I kept learning. I kept testing. I kept optimizing things. Back then, I knew that if I simplified things and structured my risk appropriately for every single trade, things would eventually click. And lo and behold, after about 2 years, they did. And since then, I've gotten to live every single day on my own terms. I get to live a life that I love, spending my time doing things I care about. I get to help those around me, my family, my friends, and everyone else I might meet, like giving really good tips to waiters or valets, or just helping people that are in need. I get to spend my time making content on YouTube and posting things that I think help people in their trading journey. And none of this came easy. I'll leave you with this. If you do what's hard in life, then things will become easy for you after a while. But if you take the easy way out and you do what's easy, then you're destined to have a hard life, and things will stay hard for you for the rest of your life. Trading is not easy by any stretch, but I am a living testament that it is 100% worth it. If you're willing to apply yourself and you're willing to give this a couple years of your life, then perhaps you too can become profitable and make something of trading.